I found this startup. The name of the startup is called Stackwell, and I like the name because
That.
you'll figure it out in a minute. But it is a fintech startup. Founder and CEO is Trevor Rosier Bird, and basically what Stackwell is it a mobile app that provides stock market education and presents users with portfolios instead of picking individual stocks. And the reason why I thought that was so interesting because Trevor Rosier Bird and this Stackwell mobile app is specifically targeted to African Americans in hopes to get them to build wealth in order to close the racial wealth gap. Now, again, I can only speak for myself. Me and my wife, we do a pretty good job of investing, whether it be 401k, whether it be saving, and even like investing in the stock market. We're also getting into crypto, actually, outside of just a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. We're actually going to start including cryptocurrency as a main vehicle in my family's investing. But outside of me and my wife, my family as a whole, umbrella family tree, they ain't with the investing all that hot, for whatever reason, whether it be they don't have the extra money or they don't think they have the extra money to invest, or flat out they are unaware, uneducated, or even turned off or even suspicious
Because they can't
of.
wrap their mind around, is it fake money? Is it real money? But I don't have access to it, but it's a wallet, but it's not centralized. It's a lot of questions that people have.
Right. So basically, the reason why I like this fintech is this startup, Stackwell, is because it provides stock market education. And in addition to that, like I mentioned, it gets users portfolios. So most people feel like, all right, in order to invest in the stock market, I need to know about a company's financials. I need to know how much they make. I need to know how much they spend. I
Hmm.
need to know their charts. I need to chart their stock market. I need to know when to buy high or when to buy low, when to sell high. I need to know all these forecasts and know all this information in order just to buy one share of an individual company. So what this Stackwell does is, instead of users picking individual stocks, again, this is new. This is a startup. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but my guess is based off of questions that you answer, like how much money you have to invest, what are your goals, um, what's your lifestyle, what's your budget, things. I'm pretty sure it'll ask those type of
Hmm.
questions, and then based off of those questions, it'll automatically present you with a portfolio
Hmm.
that you invest in the portfolio, and then the actual portfolio invests in stocks, bonds. It may do options. It may get into index funds, things of that nature. But again, I thought this was really interesting because the founder, CEO, Trevor Rosier Bird, and I'll just quote what he said. I created Stackwell to eliminate the racial wealth gap by empowering a new community of Black investors. I've spent my career in the asset management industry and have seen firsthand how powerful the market can be as a tool for long-term wealth creation. Through Stackwell, our goal is to make building wealth a real possibility for more people in the Black community. Again, like I said, that's one of the things that I'm interested in, specifically from a building wealth perspective in the Black community, because that's one of the things we lag behind pretty
Yep.
much all other demographics, whether it be because the lack of education or because people have a understood and recognized and legitimate distrust when it comes to the financial system, because the financial system has not been the most open when it comes to dealing with Black folks, whether it be the housing market, whether it be investing in general.
Education. Yeah.
Right. I, with my whole heart, believe the reason why a lot of people in general, but Black folks specifically, don't get into the stock market is because the people who are currently in it have all this jargon, have all these words and has all
It's
these
very intimidating. I think they
very
make it that way
exactly
on purpose
right,
to hope that certain types of people don't get in. But
right.
when they start to realize and someone, breaks it down and uses, terms that are easily understandable, which these folks could do anyway, but it's another form of gatekeeping, in my opinion.
Right.
They don't want the extra competition because, let's be honest, a lot of times when Black folks get into stuff that's been traditionally non-Black, they get in and they kill it, and
Hmm.
they don't want that kind of smoke. They don't want that kind of competition. So I think it's just a way of gatekeeping. And with this particular startup, I actually just signed up to be an early whatever bird thing because I want to see, really what it's about.
Hmm.
Um, and I think he might be my cousin because Rozier is my mom's main name, so I think we're related. So I gotta support the
Okay.
family. But yeah, I think once you lift the veil off of some of these things, I think once the veil really starts to lift off crypto,
Hmm.
off of investing in general, I
Hmm.
think people will be more likely and more willing to jump on board if they can have someone to just explain it to them in layman's terms, and you
Hmm.
don't feel like you have to have a Harvard MBA to understand some of the basics of investing. And to be honest, a lot of how, particularly I can only speak from the Black experience because I'm Black, is we've traditionally done this type of investing or networking or group savings or things because we didn't have access before. We just didn't have the language that is associated with currently with the way that people handle finance, the way they handle investing, Wall Street, all these type of things. We've been doing it for years.
Hmm.
A lot like the whole recycling thing before it had fancy names. Black people have been doing that, co-opting, family or groups of family, coming together, putting their money together, buying real estate, buying family
Hmm.
homes that kind of, are multifamily spaces. So I just think once the veil is lifted off of that and it becomes less intimidating, and with people like Trevor, providing the educational aspect as well, I think it
Hmm.
will make people more willing to risk and get on board. And once they get in there, they were like, "Oh, why were we doing this before? When we could have, set ourselves up, even more." So I think this is great.
Right, right. And, in addition to just being uneducated or unaware, like I mentioned, a lot of people, a lot of Black folks have uh, uh, created a distrust
Mm-hmm.
for the financial media, financial markets, because they can remember a time to where they weren't allowed in a bank. They were, discriminated against when it came to buying a home. So, those would be the last people who would invest in the stock market or who would invest in real estate because
Mm-hmm.
they have been pushed away.
Traditionally. Mm-hmm.
Right. So, there's an actual amount of distrust that, you know, um, any Black person can go open up a Robinhood account, a TD Ameritrade, a Fidelity account, and invest. But that distrust is there, and these companies really, they do have some educational tools, but it's not. It's almost like, okay, well, here's how you invest in stock, and then this is how you make your money, and this is what you got to do. Versus, those of us who have been shut out, we may have to break those barriers in
Mm-hmm.
order to, you may have to hold their hand and say, look, let me help you, and on a
Let me
slower
break it down
pace.
even more granular than
Right,
what this step by step thing is, because there's still a lot of questions and there's still a lot of jargon that I don't quite understand. And this is supposed to be the dumbed down version. And it's
right,
intimidating to people.
right. And like I said, these companies, it takes time to build those type of customers. And these companies ain't got time. Either
Mm-mm.
they ain't got time or they don't want to spend
They
the
need the
time
time.
because their other customers, they quote unquote get it, right? In addition to that, a lot of uh, Black folks' wealth is in their homes. Well, as a
Mm-hmm.
result of the 2008, 2009 housing market crash, and just how things are now, rising healthcare costs, crushing student loan debt, there are people who can't buy homes and they are currently renting. So that whole dynamic to where again, like a lot of black folks is like their number one wealth building a vehicle has been their home. Well,
Mhm.
if you don't own a home and you're renting, okay, well, where's your wealth vehicle there? So,
Right.
you know, this kind of comes at a good time because there are people who are now trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to build safety net, security net, and then how am I going to build wealth for myself and the future generations, my kids, my grandkids, my nephews, my nieces, grandbabies, things of that nature when I don't own a home, so
Yeah. And
and
a lot
then
of these people are first generation
mhm,
trying to build wealth. We've been in this country for how long? And,
mhm,
even educated people, still the first in their family maybe to go to college, the first in their family maybe to own a business, the first in their family to have expendable income. So you're starting from scratch. You're starting from the ground floor trying to figure this out. And you're trying to generate this wealth and build this wealth, all while still having to have a life, and a lot of times still having to support and help other family members at the same time. So it's just
mhm,
like barrier after barrier after barrier when you're just trying to literally figure out how can I, as a person, the first in my generation or the first in my family, to even think of the future or building wealth for future generations. So this
mhm,
really kind of starts to open that door so that people can navigate their way through figuring out this whole process, because it is systematically built to exclude certain people. They just passed a bill for, I think, World War II GI veterans that were supposed to get a part of the GI Bill for education and for home ownership. They are
mhm,
just now from World War II, I think. Don't quote me, but Google it. It's on. They just Congress just passed a bill to pay back those black family members of those war veterans, because they were promised, if you go to war and fight for this country, you will get money for homes, which is back then was the number one form of wealth building. Still is
mhm,
today, but back then even more so. Education, to go to college. People, you mentioned college loan debt. So they are now just in 2021
mhm.
going back to bring up the folks who should have had this already. So you're thinking, what, 50 years of not getting the access to the resources that you were promised? That's 50 years in growth and potential just lost, because this country has systematically denied black folks their just due.
Yep. So again, all that to say, apps like Stackwell, you see a lot of black-owned banks starting to pop up, whether it be Greenwood, One United, a lot of online banks.
Mm-hmm.
There is something to be said to businesses, specifically financial businesses that cater to the black community, because the odds have been stacked against us for so long. And like Nica mentioned, there are first generation folks who are just starting to figure out how to build wealth, but there are a lot of us who are not. So,
Mm-hmm.
products, companies, businesses like Stackwell, definitely looking forward to see if they can. Again, this is all new. This is all information we, found through our investigation. So I can't vouch for it 100%, but
Do
again,
your research on your
yeah, do your
own and make your
research.
decisions. But
Right.
we're bringing the information to you to do your own research and make the own decisions that are best for you and your family.
Exactly. But all
But
that
I'm
to say,
encouraged by it.
right, encouraged by it, and we want to see it do well. So again, if you're
Definitely.
interested, you want to check it out, go to stackwellcapital.com. Like you said, they've got a early adopter list that you can sign up for. So when the product actually launches, definitely check it out. I will be checking it out because again, I got some family members I need to share this with,
Exactly.
so they can get out of my pockets, right? you know.